Hi, this is Tim Grant, your 5-minute QuickBooks professor. Today, we're talking units of measure in QuickBooks. Units of measure are basically just conversions or translations of quantities of an item from purchasing through stocking and shipping. You might receive a case of something in, you break it down into a smaller size and maybe into a smaller size for selling. That's simply all it is. It's just a lot of has to do with terminology. So to check your preferences, go here, Edit, Preferences, Items in Inventory, and under Company Preferences, and you'll see the unit of measure setting here. Now, usually the default is to a single unit per item, and that would simply be, if you bought pairs of shoes, if you're a shoe store and you bought pairs of shoes and you sold pairs of shoes and you never sell in any other size, but pairs of shoes, you'd have a single unit of measure. But 99% of the companies out there will have multiple units of measure. You purchase in one quantity and you store or sell in another quantity. So once you've turned that on, you will have this list now set up, units of measure set list, and you're going to see me refer to a lot to the base unit of measure. This is what QuickBooks draws from, and a base unit of measure is always the smallest size that you purchase, stock, or sell an item in. So what I'm going to do is, for this example, is I'm going to use that we sell beer. And for our beer, we purchase in cases of 24 and we sell in 6-packs. So for our base unit of measures, what I'm going to do is I set this up earlier as my base unit measure is a 6-pack because this is what I sell it at. So I have my 6-pack here. Remember, it's always the smallest unit. So then once I've set up the base unit, I can set up related units, and I've set up a case of 24, and it's equivalent to 4 of my base unit makes up my related units. And then once I can set that up, I can then set up for my purchases what I purchase it in versus what I stock or I sell it in. Now I could have set up my base unit of measure as a case of 24 if I wanted to do that, and that could be my stocking unit. The only problem with that is if I sell it as a 6-pack, then on an invoice I have to put down 1/4 or use a fraction of whatever my base unit of measure is. So you have to take that into account when you're doing all of this setup. So on to my item, and I've set up my item here, my quick beer. So I've assigned this my base unit of measure of my 6-pack. Down here under cost, think of this as the cost per my base unit of measure. Even though I may be purchasing it in a case of 24, QuickBooks is always tracking by that base unit of measure. And you'll see down here a quantity on hand of 4 because I received in 1 case of this beer. And I'll show it to you over here. So you see I did an item receipt for 1 case, and on the quick report it's tracking it per case. If I drill down, you see I received 1, but I received the whole case. The case cost me $5. That was the $1.25 times 4 because it was tracking everything in that base unit of measure. So that's the tracking of the inventory, and then also in the stock status report and the physical inventory report, it's always going to track what's on that base unit. So you have to keep that in mind in terms of what you're going to set as your base unit. Also for the physical inventory count, it will do the same thing. Here you see my quick beer, I have quantity on hand is a 4. So you have to keep that as tracked as well. Now, when you're setting up the items, what you want to do, my unit of measure set, is these are arbitrary settings. So these are just examples for you to use. But realize all of these, length, weight, all of these are very discrete amounts, except where the confusion comes in is when we have counts. And I'm going to take an example of each. So a pair and a dozen are pretty simple and are already calculated for you because those are already known. But packages, boxes, cases, these kind of things can vary. You might have a case, say 24, so you would want to set this up and have an abbreviation of say 24, and then tell the system that it takes 24 to make this up. That's how you relate the two. Now, what I prefer to do is I usually set up my items, and I'll just set up one, and then I'll go in and set up all my related units. That just kind of makes it easier to be able to set up the whole thing. And that's basically all you need to know for setting up units of measure. I'm Tim Grant, your 5-Minute QuickBooks professor, and I guess I'll see you in class next time. Thanks for joining.